We are alive. All right. This is ungovernable.
I
Ungovernable.
know,
I
I
have to
find a hard time saying it
it's
too.
tough to enunciate. I am Matt. This is Jocelyn.
Hello.
As usual, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. As you can see, the lights have been messed with by our 5-year-old in the background, so it's kind of techno disco in here this evening. But so yeah, this is going to be a quick episode. We're going to talk about something that has been a
I think it
gigantic.
could be a really long episode, but we can't do it.
It could.
Ironically,
we are
because I have to
time
go on
constrained. Time constrained. But yes, this is something that we could totally talk about for a long time because it
We
has
need
been a
experts. Is what we need.
thorn in our side. But we are talking about screen addiction specifically
Yes.
for children.
Yes.
And so, we live in a technological society and it is tough navigating that.
Wow.
So, do we want to pop the wine first?
Yeah.
All right.
What is it?
You went out and got this. It is
I thought the label was really cool.
Octopoda. It is like an octopus, if you can see that. Octopoda.
It's such a cool label.
It is Cab Franc from, I guess, North Coast, California, 2019. Pretty cool label with
cool
like
color.
the iridescent blue or whatever. So, do you want to do the honors opening? Your little corkscrew is right there. All right. So, we have a very I guess tenuous experience or a very difficult experience with screen addiction. Would you say?
I think your viewpoint has come.
It's changed a
It
lot.
has changed a lot due to our circumstances.
Yeah,
you didn't think screen was an addiction for a very long time.
Well, I knew screens could be addicting. I guess the probably the rule of thumb or whatever is you don't truly understand how addicting it can be until you know someone who suffers from it, right? Full disclosure, we have 3 kids. We have our eldest and our youngest are our daughters, and then our middle child is our one son.
Yes.
He is 11, and our oldest and our youngest don't seem to have the same problems. Again, we don't
put it down. Well, our youngest we don't know quite yet because our son was about her age, maybe like a year older when we started really having issues.
Yes, yeah. Which, by the way, a reminder, we take live comments and questions and things like that. And so if you want to commiserate with us, if you have solutions, we will take solutions.
Please.
But yeah, we definitely want to make our programs interactive. So if you are viewing and have some thoughts on the subject, please feel free to share on whatever platform you're watching
Resources,
on. Yes. And a quick reminder, we are streaming on most of the main social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, but we're also on the blockchain on Vim TV, Odyssey, Twitch. Alan already chiming in. Yeah, right. One gets very angry once she gets on the iPad.
But she can put it down.
Yeah, the youngest can put it down.
She can put it down.
Yeah. So
she just needs like a 5-minute, like finish what she's doing.
Yes.
And then she will do like tonight.
One of the things that we tried with Cole was the whole like countdown thing, timers, like actual timers.
We've tried everything.
Those kind of work for Piper, right?
You give
her a couple of minutes and you're like, look, okay, in 3 minutes you got to be done. And usually as long as you give her enough of a leeway ahead of time or a head start, she's good kind of walking away from it. But Cole is definitely the one that I would say has a major screen addiction problem. And it runs the course of not just the amount of time he would end up.
Hold on, is the door locked downstairs?
Oh, that's a good question. Go make sure Ani can get in. So she'll be right back. But so we have our oldest coming back from theater practice. But so anyway, Cole has an issue not just with time. Like if he had unfettered access to screens, he would spend literally all day and all night on them. But on top of that, there's also some major behavioral things that have come up through the period of time of him actually having access to screens, whether it's regulated access in terms of time or it's, just completely wide open, he can do whatever he wants.
It was locked.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, no, that was good. So the traditional unschooling model, right? A lot of unschooling parents will just give their kids.
There is a divide.
Yeah.
Because you're talking radical unschooling.
Have you tried this yet?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Cab Franc.
It is good.
Yeah. So
there's
radical
a divide because even in the Facebook group I'm in, which is very like you just have to Like they can self-regulate. They believe that.
Okay.
There are arguments all the time about whether a child can self-regulate with a device that is meant to, so here's an interesting thing. Have you seen that meme going around that says, I think it's Morgan Freeman, the meme is, but it's, they call it programming for a reason.
Right.
Have you seen
that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So they argue whether that is like, can you self-regulate with something that is so kind of programmed, to do this.
It is literally designed to capture your attention and hold it for as long as possible. And it's both a combination of the programming as well as the platforms, right? So we're on YouTube right now. When they serve you other videos,
that's what screwed us over.
Well, they're going to promote the videos that you're going to interact with the most or watch the longest amount of time because they want you to stay on the platform as long as possible to sell ads.
It's all, a business. But also, like, that's how Cole got started on the YouTube, was he was skateboarding.
Yeah.
And he would watch skateboarding, rail skateboarding, to watch tricks and like understand things. And all of a sudden, like, all the recommendations, which had nothing to do with skateboarding, brought him down a whole nother road.
Yeah. Video game live streamers, right? What else did he get involved in? There was all kinds of people that did reaction videos to stupid TikToks and all this other crap.
The worst are the gamer videos.
So okay, so let's talk about that first, because we can talk about the behavioral aspects and kind of what we've done to kind of like maybe curtail it or rein it in a little bit. But I think that is a big thing for me. And it was something that I didn't really recognize was going to be a risk, right? Like that he was going to be exposed to.
Like someone else then influences your child almost more than you do.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I suppose if you put your kids in school, the same thing happens in a different way. But
I know the words like groomer and pedo get thrown around a lot nowadays. Okay.
After what I've seen.
But you got to seriously ask yourself, like, if your kid is watching a 35, 40-year-old grown man speak like a baby and play a video game that's mostly played by teenagers and younger, there's something wrong there. Like, it doesn't feel right. Like it's just, and
it's creepy,
and it's very creepy. It's extremely creepy. Like, I can't imagine who the hell this fucking guy's girlfriend or boyfriend is. Like, that's like, oh, like,
and then you think about, and
there's not just one, there's like
people are saying, why
hundreds.
do you let your kid watch that? And we on YouTube, there's thousands of videos on how to get around parental controls. It's like, and you try everything, and then they get around everything. And especially if you have a smart kid, Cole's a smart kid when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But quickly before, so this idea of self-regulation, just to go back for a second, the radical schooling mind, this is hard for me. If you have more than one kid, I think if you have one kid and you don't have three kids and you want to give them, that full on, you can, figure out how to regulate yourself, which I don't think you can do with sugar either.
Well, yeah, no,
I don't think you can, like, maybe some kids are capable of it, but I don't think
our eldest has no problem. She uses the tools in what I would consider the productive way of using the tools, right? She uses them for art, tutorials, and art how-tos and inspiration for things, or seeing people that do like amazing art. She probably watches other things for entertainment, but she's also a huge bookworm and everything like that. So she doesn't allow like YouTube or the other stuff that she does on the screen to completely push everything else out of her life. Cole just doesn't have that regulation switch. It just doesn't happen.
Back to, if you have one kid, the idea is if you do let them go completely, which we did try for like 2 weeks, but you have to be there with them like all the time. You have to be involved with everything they're doing on the screen, kind of like pulling it forward and backward, and just really like helping them. You have to literally pull out that self-regulation in them. Like, and if you have 3 kids, I don't know if that's, I mean, I'm sure people do it. But we have 3 kids who have all different likes. None of them watch the same thing, really. They all do their own thing. And so there's 2 of us, 3 kids. I mean, it seems like at least maybe with us, like it would take 24/7 for a long time to.
Well, you're competing against a computer algorithm, right? Like,
That's
so
constantly
whatever they're being served up, or the video games that they're playing, that now they're being introduced to other people that play those video games, and they get on live chats with them and stuff like that. You literally have to be monitoring a lot of that stuff in order to try and course correct, right? But the problem is it's literally 24/7. It's always on. And if they have unfettered access, I mean, like at times he was just waiting till we went to sleep, and then he would hop on and he'd be on all night long.
Morning, and we would be asleep.
Yeah. And God knows.
And some kids can do it. Like some kids can do it. I'm not saying all kids, can't do it. Like, some kids can do it.
Well, no,
some kids can't.
So someone can,
I believe
someone can, smoke a joint or do a hit, right? And it not ruin their life, right? But there's a portion of the population that they have that one taste, and it's their brain is just locked. Like they just get it, right? And so I've definitely seen that in him, and it was not something that I expected to be that bad. Like I did not expect it to get that level. And it's been all the behavioral stuff that comes with it too. So it's been, the language that's used by some of these streamers. Dude, the fucking woke left loves streaming because all these people get to plant these little earworms in people while they're, streaming a video game or something like that. I mean, the highest grossing like Twitch streamers are gigantic socialists. They're like Democrat, socialist, or communists. And they're open about it too.
Has Cole been watching this?
Luckily enough, like I've seen some of the stuff he's been watching, and well, this isn't lucky. Like it's less woke left stuff because it's more targeted towards like 9, 10, 11-year-old kids. So I'm not sure like they necessarily understand when that stuff gets implanted, but it really is this fucking pedo groomer shit that's really freaking scary about what gets put out there.
Oh my God, if only I had thought about it. There's this post on the one unschooling group I'm on, and it was the post by the woman who runs it kind of, and she had said, she was talking about mass shootings, and she said, she said like these kids who do this and they blame, screens and games and stuff. She said, it's not the screens or the games, it's the parents. And I was like, ouch. Like that was a cut. Like, but I mean, to take the complete onus off of, I mean, the way she said it, and all these people, and I'm like,
you don't get it.
When we were kids, the games were not the same. We didn't have access to
and those are unschooling parents too, and they don't get it. Because again, if they have 1 or 2 kids, it's easy to kind of like, especially if you have 2 parents in the house, like it's easy to kind of divide and you kind of like pass them off, or like, or at least just kind of monitor, right? It's so difficult because if you're trying to do stuff around the house and work and all this other stuff on top of trying to manage, those 3 kids and their different likes and things like that and what they're doing, it becomes a full-time job almost in and of itself because you're fighting a losing battle.
And it's like I tell you all the time, I say I couldn't imagine how my parents would have raised me if I had all this access to things. And, and I don't think I would have wanted to grow up with it. I really don't. Like, I'm okay having it in my 20s, 30s, 40s, but I don't think I would want to.
Can you imagine? So, like, we talked about homeschooling two episodes ago, right? And we talked about kind of some of the programming that happens at public school. Can you imagine now you're a parent in the present day and age, and not only does your kid get programming at school,
but then they get it.
Now they get it on
their
screen,
on
their social media, on YouTube, stuff. On this all this other stuff, on TikTok, on Instagram, right? Dude, you're screwed. There's no way you get to influence your kid anywhere close to all these other kind of like outside things that are coming in, or at the very least, being a resource to kind of explain some of this stuff, right? Because they get presented with really adult type material quite often through these mediums, and you have no ability to kind of step in.
What is this about YouTube? You cannot like block a channel. Like, why can't I block a channel that I do? I don't know that whole thing.
But that's the other thing that complicates it. By the way, Alan shares our thought process. Creepy Minecraft 25+
Absolutely.
year olds.
And it's not just Minecraft. It's like all the games.
Feed and grow fish and freaking what else does he watch? Oh, these
and it's also the way they treat people and talk about people.
Oh yeah, they treat their friends like shit.
And it's constant like pranking stuff, and and they really, I mean, the language has totally entered our house, and I am just grossed out by it.
Yeah.
But like the whole way they
just talk down to each other all the time.
Exactly.
And it really kind of like clicked for me when I was listening to him speak, and I heard the same tone and phraseology that some of these streamers were using when he was watching them. And I was like, holy crap, like this kid is freaking.
And well, for a while,
like, entranced.
You got him on good ones done by kids who were kind of talking about building Minecraft things. Yes. But again, it's a constant suggestion.
Yeah, the algo just takes over.
Us for walking over a way to get a drink or to go downstairs and do something.
Yeah.
And by the time you come back up, that is on again. Yeah. That shit is on again.
Yeah.
It is so fast.
And the behavioral shift in him has been dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Something that also I think enters in this conversation is, I think you really kind of focus on it more than I do, but it's still in the back of my mind, is the fact that, you know, he hit his head a couple of times when he was younger, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it means anything or not.
Does that affect his ability to be impressionable by this stuff and things like that? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know whether or not that kind of like allows for it, or if it would happen no matter what.
I think part of the screens is, you know, first of all, I do think the whole blue light thing, you know, like the blue light glasses are really good.
Yeah.
Like, I think they can help. But I think like there's this like instant gratification that comes from being like on a screen. It's like just a touch, you know. Even Cole, you can see it because he doesn't want to watch the ads, so he figured out a way to like surpass the ads in everything he does, because it's got to be now, right? And that doesn't really translate to real life.
Yeah.
And if you've noticed, he has problems, I'm sure you've noticed, with not getting something right away. He has to be perfect at it right away, or he loses it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is another part of not just screens in like YouTube, but every screen, you know. I mean, think about, remember when we used to, I mean, now I'm going to date myself, but there was no remote.
Yeah.
You had to go up to the box and turn the channel. And I don't want to hear from you, Alan. But you had to watch commercials.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that now. It comes down to like all kinds of these little things.
Well, I mean, you do
add up.
You do and you don't, though, because also the commercialism has creeped into the show, right? Like, which is not necessarily
been there.
It's not necessarily anything different than, say, like when you and I were growing up and there was like sitcoms and stuff that we would watch, and they would strategically place products and things like that within the show. I mean, it still happens in movies now, right? But I think the more insidious thing about it is that the children look at these things a lot differently, I think, than we looked at sitcoms and stuff.
Yeah.
Sitcoms and those kinds of like entertainment medium used to be like pure entertainment. I don't think this is pure entertainment. Like, I've seen him watch this stuff, and he is like zombified by some of this shit.
Piper can get zombified too.
Oh yeah,
you can pull her off.
Yeah,
I don't see the same with Veronica.
And so, like, when those things kind of like get strategically placed, even within
what's happening,
you know,
like what kind of like
I feel like it soaks in more. Like, it's not just subliminal. It's it's actively.
Can we start with the moment that I feared when he got into games? We went.
So there was one restaurant.
Yeah,
I mean, like, we can't eat there anymore anyway.
But you know, we stood away from screens for so goddamn long.
Yeah.
And the only thing we would let them have were like alphabet games or something, you know, or like sign language games. And we stayed away from it for so long. And then we went to Buffalo Wild West. That motherfucker. Like, for real, they sit you down and they give all the kids a fucking screen with games.
Yeah, tablet.
I think you were kind of excited because like, I'm going to play games with my son. I was like horrified.
I wanted it to be a communal thing. Like, and he got hooked. The first thing that hooked him was Plants vs. Zombies.
Plants vs. Zombies. And I got him all the books, trying to get him like away from the screen into the books, into the like
reading the stories that are attached to it.
Nope,
you know, but work. No, it was like, you know, like I said before, like the reason why we think that he's like, he has a literal addiction to it is because all the books and things like that, he wouldn't know existed. Like, even if it was sitting on his shelf or right in front of his face, if he was given the option or the book or the screen, he'll take the screen every single time. He will never, ever pick up the book. So then that leads us to, okay, we've identified the problem.
We do now know
the
problem.
So we've gone through just a litany of answers. I gotta say,
we've learned a lot because, well, go ahead.
I gotta say, I have an appreciation for my son's ingenuity in getting around the roadblocks that we've put in place.
I mean, even locks and doors.
It's insane. Like, now, it's also awful from the standpoint of it's definitely addict behavior, because it's like when something is taken away or limited, the addict is going to do whatever they can in order to get their fix.
He definitely has that.
Yes. And it takes all forms. Whatever password, key code that we put on the TV or on the iPad or he finds a way around it. He'll see it. He'll watch it.
He would do the 1 more minute on the iPad, 1 more minute, 1 more minute.
Yeah. Like, if you put a time limit, some of these programs allow you to just infinitely put in 1 more minute, 1 more minute. And I can't even imagine how awful that experience is, using the iPad, having to continually, like a freaking rat with a cocaine fix, just 1 more minute, 1 more minute, 1 more minute. But he would do that for hours. Like, he would literally do it for hours.
Now we're on what you call it, incognito browsers.
Yes. Yeah. So
whenever
he has, so we also do a lot of online learning.
So we have to preface this with, we both work online.
Yep.
So people have said to us, well, you're on computers all the time, so of course your kid's addicted.
Yeah.
They've said, but many people are working online from home now ever since the whole COVID thing. I've been working online from before that. And so, yeah, I mean, like, it's true. Like, you're constantly working for the libertarian stuff. I'm constantly working.
We should definitely get the kids into old school farm games, like pushing a hoop down the street with a stick. No,
they did churn butter the other day.
Yes. It is tough because you want to role model good behavior. And so it's also very difficult for them to rectify the difference between, doing work in a digital world.
Well, the other thing
versus entertainment.
I mean, so I teach writing and art and movie making.
Yeah.
And I've even said to him, come to my movie classes, do a YouTube channel, do something outside of watching these crazy, ridiculous, creepy people.
Yeah.
Like, and he's just not interested in it. That's the addiction too. Mm-hmm. Like, there are lots of kids who come to, like, my movie classes and they do all of this, learning how to vlog, learning how to do YouTubing, and they're putting something back in. What he watches is nothing like that.
Yeah.
Like, he can't even translate it into something. So, like, even though he has the opportunity to come, and do these things and jump into it in a way that would be, I think, somewhat inviting and
somewhat
learning and productive. Yeah.
But all of his learning has come from trying to get to the screen. Like, that's all of his ingenuity and creativity has been focused on that, versus
which is not a great, like,
leveraging it.
Unless he's going to become a hacker
or rob a bank or something. I don't know. I hope not. But yeah, no, and again, I have a lot of respect for it, because, like, you were talking about the incognito browser. So it got to the point where, like,
he would use my laptop.
He would use things, and then we would call him on it, like, nail him. Like, you watched these 5 videos. We saw from history that you watched these 5 videos.
And they were not good videos to be watching.
Yeah.
They were like,
and so he was,
videos.
And so he was kind of embarrassed and stuff, but then also he's developed this safety and this defense mechanism where it's like, oh no, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I have you dead to rights. And he's like, no, I didn't do that. It's hopefully it doesn't lead to a criminal history, but the incognito browser thing was a new level, because then it was like, okay, he had your laptop.
Well, and he has my laptop because he has online
and he's
guitar
supposed to be on
lessons.
Classes, right?
He's supposed to be practicing guitar.
And this is right to the heart of 3 kids, spread attention, right? And so he has the laptop for literally like 30 minutes and he's supposed to be practicing guitar. Well, what'll happen is, like, he'll listen whether or not you're walking in the hall or something, and he'll have the guitar and he'll sit there and strum a couple of strings. And, like, if you're eavesdropping, you're like, oh, okay, he's actually doing something. And then he'll just have another window open with the YouTube video and just go right back to it. And
you
so
can't follow that.
when he figured out that we could watch the history if it was signed in, or even if it was just a regular window, he then figured out, either through YouTube or some other means, that he could open up an incognito Chrome browser, so that as he views, if he just closes the browser, it closes the history.
I can't even.
You know, again, like I'm in awe and infuriated at the same exact time, right? Like
I'm just horrified.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even funny.
So we've reverted to treating this differently than we were before. Before, I think we were trying to facilitate
to allow it and be part of it,
like cultivate something positive out of it.
Yeah.
We've really been disenfranchised with this.
Well, on top of the fact that I've told you, and people tell us all the time, he just needs friends. He just needs friends, right? But the problem is,
all his fucking friends play the damn games.
So when you go to like a playground or a park or something and you meet with friends, they're all on a fucking phone or talking about a game. And I just saw this amazing video on screen addiction. And he had said the like the addiction comes from the fact that boys, particularly of Cole's age, don't have true friendships.
Yeah.
Because if a parent decides to limit screen time, or they're not playing a certain game, it's just like, all right, see, I'll find someone else.
Yeah.
And so they don't actually have relationships that are going to, and he said this stuff turns into alcoholism and other things because they have no community that really is a friend.
Yeah.
And they can just switch and change. And I've seen that. The minute they start talking about something like Cole isn't involved in, or someone else isn't involved in, that person gets booted to the side. Friendships in this digital age, I feel bad for our girls.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, how are you going to?
Well, that's why we have an entire, like, this is why this could be a 2-3 hour episode.
Yeah.
Because we could expand this also into, there was just recently an article talking about how we have an entire generation of like 30 and 40 something children, males, right? Like little boys, but in 30 and 40-year-olds bodies, not adults.
Yeah.
And women are now, or anyone who's in the, you know.
Oh, I don't even know if that's a term anymore, but that's another.
No, it's a term. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you're bisexual and you aren't into trans people, then you're a transphobe. But
are you pan?
No. It's if
pansexual is all around.
Anyway, we're going off the rails. Sorry. This could be another episode.
We should ask Cole. He's probably been looking it up.
I hope not. I really don't want to have that conversation. But you have an entire generation of boys who should be men and they're not.
Yeah. Because
they've been intentionally kept young and impressionable, or basically zombified for the majority of their years when they were supposed to be becoming.
That would be the first generation that grew up with all of this, right?
For the most part,
would be like basically the first generation.
Yeah, I mean, like, let me think. Millennials grew up with technology, but not in the same way. Like YouTube, when they were little kids, YouTube wasn't the same. And no, it was around. Well, let's see, when did YouTube start? Like 90s?
I had a...
Don't date yourself.
I had a beeper in high school.
Yeah, don't date yourself.
Cell phone in college.
Yeah.
Internet was not. It had to be later. You're talking later than... You're talking 20s and 30s. You're not talking 40s.
But so... I think maybe younger millennials might have this issue, and then the entire Gen Z has this issue, because the way things are now, most of Gen Z had it from a very young age.
Yes.
And in fact, it was actively promoted, right? Like, oh, technology is going to help them learn faster and all this other stuff.
And honestly, like, I work for OutSchool, and OutSchool is like Veronica and even Cole with his guitar. I feel like it really does a great service to them.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it just doesn't, that's only for those moments that they're there. And, but there is a place for online. I think, a lot of homeschoolers use online curriculums and online communities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can be really good.
Yeah.
But, and I think, but that's the problem, is the online stuff has become the constant for these friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's based on that instead of, and I think back to, like, when I'm gonna go back and date myself again. When I was a kid, we didn't have any of this shit. We would go out and we made like pinball machines out of like cardboard boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
And we would literally go, and this is the other thing too, we would go really far and just wander back when it was time.
Yeah.
But like now I even feel weird with the kids going down the street because I feel like someone's going to say something. Not that I feel weird that they can't do it. Well, but like I feel like there is never anyone on our street. There's never anyone outside.
You and I were latchkey kids,
yeah.
Right? We grew up in households that had 2 working parents, and so when we came home after school,
there was no one there yet.
A lot of times you didn't stay at your house, or if you did, it was just because you had a friend come over and play or something like that. But the vast majority of the time, you were out in the neighborhood. We have tons of kids in the neighborhood, and no one's out.
Is ever out.
No one's ever out of the house.
So weird.
They get driven to classes. They get driven to sports.
They all have after-school programs and before-school programs.
None of them play in the neighborhood.
And then they're in like sports or something, and we don't even see them on the weekends.
Yeah.
We don't even
because that's when all their classes and their sports events and stuff are.
Yeah.
But so none of them play after school. They're not out. Like I can remember my childhood. When I got done with school, I would get off the bus, drop my stuff off, get a snack in the house, and then I would go, whoever was on the bus that day, I would say, like, what are we doing? Are we going down the park to go play stickball? Are we going, to Rich's house to go play video games? And that was the other thing was
video games were different.
That was the other thing. Like of my group of friends, like 2 people had a video game system. None of the rest of them had. No. It was let's see. It was the Nintendo, the original Nintendo system, which was kind of like the legacy at the time.
The big one.
And then like when Sega Genesis came out,
that was
Sega Genesis was another one.
Like, what's the S one?
And so we had a couple of friends that like for every Christmas they would get the new thing, right?
Yeah.
And so if we were gonna play video games, we'd have to go to Rich's house because Rich always had the new video games, right?
And that's the way it went.
But almost all the time when we went to Rich's house and we were playing video games, when we were there from like say 4 until 6,
it wouldn't be the whole time.
At 6, his mother or father would come home and kick us out of the house.
Yeah.
So now we would have to go play something else somewhere else for an hour and a half until dinner.
Now they all got phones and
yeah.
I mean, you know what? I didn't want to give Veronica a phone. I gave it to her because I wanted to keep my dad's number. And I was partly okay with giving it to her because I think she's ready to go and walk through places. I just want to know she's okay.
I genuinely believe she doesn't have a problem being able to use the tool and use it responsibly. Not right now, I'll tell you that much.
No.
I mean, like,
and here's the question: if it is an addiction, and I say this too, I'm like, it's like heroin for him. Like it is like heroin for him. I like you can't have it, and even if you kick it for 2 years, you can't just give him a phone because he's gonna go and do the same thing. I don't know. We've gotten to the point where we fully believe that he has to go through. I have. These are the keys to this office, okay? And if I can't open it with a butter knife,
if I pan the camera, like the electronics are all on the shelves and things like that. I feel like the warden at the lockup every night
because my laptop every night.
I have to take inventory every night because if we don't, he'll find a way to.
Oh, and there were pieces of the door like carved out by trying to use a butter knife.
The first day, we found chunks of the door taken out, a butter knife that he was using, and on one of the devices, he had Googled how to open any door with a butter knife. Okay, like this is this kid, right? Right, like
someone help us.
Yeah. It's been better. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's way better than it was, though.
Would you say his personality changes when he's on the screen?
It changes. It still sucks, but it changes It changed dramatically. Like it
not
got
today.
It got no. Well, no. He has the device is the thing, and I have an hour time limit on it. Yeah. So then you see the addict behavior, like the bargaining behavior. He comes outside and he goes, "Oh well, I didn't get a full hour."
Yelling, and screaming,
and you're like, "No, you got a full hour." And he's like, "No. When there's updates and stuff, the time still runs." And I was like, "Buddy,
gotta work on it." Right?
I was like, "Buddy, God. I went upstairs, took a shower, meditated all this time. It was like 45 minutes. You were on the entire time. Plus, you played this morning. You got a full hour."
Like the coolest thing you just said was that you meditated.
Well, yes, yeah. I missed that this morning.
But the sick part about it is that, and this is weird, when we take the screens away, like we want to give him what he wants when he's doing really good, but we have to stop that. But like, not giving because he wants the screen. But when we do take the screens away, and if it's been 2 days, and like one day I totally cleared everything, brought his iPad back. He had worked so hard on one of these things to get like Roblox, whatever. And he worked so hard to get that. And I cleared that shit. I totally wiped his thing. And within a half hour, he was like a happy-go-lucky kid.
He was over it.
It was like, it was weird because it's like almost like part of me thinks he's begging us to take everything away. Part of me thinks like there's a part of him that just like needs us to take everything away. And I want to, and we try, and he's, we're still allowing him at this point, the screens and
on a much smaller scale, but he's still
like no iPad. It's only the Switch. Can he do random things on the Switch?
And we had to go through. No. There's certain limitations on the Switch.
So he can't do YouTube.
Can't do any of that stuff.
This is where our problem. This is, I think, the first demon.
But that's the other thing is, all of these devices also, you can use one to leverage the other. So, like for instance, we put like a code on the Apple TV. Well, the problem was that then if you put the code into the Apple TV using the remote, he sees the numbers. So you have to tell him to get out of the room. So all he has to do is tell.
Do it on the iPhone,
this is also like, I can't tell if this is going to be deviant behavior when he's older or he's going to be a freaking genius. He tells his 5-year-old sister to watch what the code is, and then she tells him what the code is on the thing, and then he can get into it. Like it's absolutely insane. Or when we hide stuff, he'll send her on a fact-finding mission to find the electronic device, because he knows that like we're not going to be skeptical of her. So she goes and finds where it is, tells him, and then he can go get the electronic device.
You can't say this is an addiction. You can't.
No, it's 100% addiction.
You cannot say. And the people, and honestly, when you think about screens, again, like there is an ability to self-regulate for a certain amount of things, but the amount of, I don't even know how to say it, the amount of just influence and the way it influences it is just sick.
So on Vim, we got Shoe Funk, who's basically saying, it was the same way for my group of friends. We had a certain set of games we played, and we'd hang out and try to beat the games. And then said, oh, that's good. He didn't go nuts that you wiped his data. I know some parents with kids that go nuts if you did. Well, he freaked out for about 15 minutes.
Oh, he went ballistic.
But
then 20 minutes later.
But something we've been trying to impart on him is that, specifically Roblox, like screw Roblox, because Roblox is this game where a lot of the games are just repetitive, hitting the same button over and over and over and over and over again. And you like, the conspiracy theorist in me makes me think that these things are strategically placed to create people that are basically like those rats that are addicted to cocaine in the freaking box, right?
I believe that 100%.
And it's just, they get used to just hit the button, and
they say that's the same thing about
no deductive reasoning.
Social media, like for adults.
Yeah.
Every time you get the ping, you got a tweet ping, you got this, and Facebook ping, you have that. It's all like Pavlov's. Bell.
Which by the way, what was the documentary that was on Netflix that was what was the documentary that was on Netflix that was about social media? It was
where they were talking about how it, like the AI of it all.
Yes, we watched that,
awful.
And that also caused us to make some changes in terms of like our usage of social media.
Tell you, as far as us or you.
Me? Okay. Now it's getting real.
You go through periods. And I know when you're not feeling great because you're in your phone constantly.
Yeah.
And you're using it for some reason
it's an
or
escape.
Another. And you don't answer and you have the same thing.
Yeah.
But you don't do it all the time. And I can say something to you about it. But sometimes I don't. I just let you do it for a few days.
Well, it's an escape. And usually I escape into the things that I don't even know how to describe it. Like they're not like video games. I'm not playing videos.
I think you're on Twitter.
I'm usually on Twitter freaking just bitching back and forth with people is what I'm doing. And so I don't know whether that brings me comfort.
But you
or
used
if
to. You used to be up here on Minecraft for like hours.
Again, it was something where like I almost felt like I kind of wanted to like escape into something that wasn't real.
Yeah.
And that's also something that worries me about now, realizing that about myself versus how he's using screens. Is he trying to avoid real life? I mean, we just went through a loss of two very close loved ones.
We
right?
did, but he had this problem before.
No, he did have the problem before,
but it's gotten worse.
But again,
definitely with
what
sugar.
happened before that maybe pushed him in that direction, and then something else pushes him further in that direction, and something else reinforces it and pushes him in that direction, right? I have to sneeze. Don't worry, it's not the coof. So, but yeah, it's really worrisome. And so like our response has basically been to treat it as addiction for him. And we don't treat
But if we really
our other kids the same way, because we identify that they're different.
If we've totally treated it like addiction, which we haven't, we would be out of the house. Like we have struggled.
Well, we would have to cleanse,
because we would have
completely.
to take out and there's a part.
It'd
of
be
me
like
that's
Little
like
House
selfish.
on the Prairie around here.
Yeah, no, there's a part of me that's selfish. Like I hardly watch TV. I teach online. I hate screens. Like I can't even wear my glasses tonight because I'm tired of it. Like, but I like my Dell Big Tree.
Yeah.
And I like to jump on and see what I have to go on Instagram right now to figure out like the styles of things. And, and I just want to be able to watch, like we watched The Lake House the other day.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about logical inconsistencies in modern movies, please?
But like, I want to be able to do that. And if we don't have like a TV, that just sucks. Like we live in an age where we should be able to do that.
So Shufunk said, I have a small problem when kids as young as 10 play games like Fortnite and go ballistic over the small things.
We didn't even ever let him on Fortnite.
He hasn't even been, he found a way when he had access to his computer to free download Valor and Fortnite and some of the other ones, and we didn't even know about it. But what keyed us into it was, and Shufunk, to your point,
was this the naked skin thing?
Wait, no, hold on. So he goes ballistic over small, minuscule stuff in the game, and it's like that's also something that keyed us into the fact that he's like way over what the other kids are doing, because if it's something that's minor in the game and he can't do it, freaks the F out, like freaks out. Can't stand it.
I'm not like full on cursing, hitting things like crazy.
Yeah.
It is not I say to him often, and I wonder if the screens have done this to him, like how does it feel like to not be happy?
Well,
ever?
no,
like, there's never.
We ask him all the time, like, how are you enjoying this right now? If you're freaking out all the time,
and then that makes me think that's why I pulled the heroin thing on you, because I was like, dude, it's like dopamine, serotonin, whatever the fuck that does.
Yeah,
like he can't get there anymore in any other way.
He's not in his logical brain when he's playing those games. No. He just isn't. It's not calculating. It's just it's repetitive activity and motion, and so the story about the Fortnite and Valor and this other stuff was you come to me one day and you're like, hey, I got like these, like, what was it, like $50 or $100 in charges or something like that on my card, and it said something about like what was the billing company's name? It was like it was like
radical,
like rad something,
because
right?
the bank called me, because I don't ever buy that stuff normally. And so they called me and said, what are these charges? And it was $150 or $200 in charges.
And so now I take him and we're running errands to get stuff for the house and we're doing work, and he starts questioning me about this stuff, and he's like, well, would mommy have an issue if I played like this game or whatever? And I was like, what game is that? Like, who made that or whatever? And it ended up being this same billing company
or something.
And then I looked at him and I was like, do you think I'm a fucking moron? And he was like, what do you mean? Right. And I was like, do you think I'm a moron? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you're talking about something that literally today, mommy asked me why there are fraudulent charges on her bank card from this thing. And then he starts in with, oh, but it's free to play and all this other stuff.
And how safe it is because somebody on YouTube said it was safe.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, really? Let me look on your computer. And so I get on the computer and I go through it and I was like, oh, yeah, the game's free, but all the microtransactions and shit cost money.
Yeah.
And then all the merch and everything like that. Right. And so his behavior is so
he doesn't care
just
about
overrun
lying to your face,
you know. And I do not doubt him that he was telling the truth. Like, he probably watched a YouTuber and was like, this is badass, and like freaking do this, and like you need to get the freaking mouse pad and all this other stuff, right? And he probably went on and he literally took your card out of your wallet and input the information in order to get that stuff. Like, that is addicted behavior.
Yeah.
That is not just, you know, oh, it'll pass. Like, that's not that.
I'm like, if you could just do it for an hour and a half, like, it would be a different story. Because he gets upset because we don't give the same limits to Veronica and Piper.
Yeah.
But there's just this unfairness in my head where I'm like, I don't want to be a completely screen-free, everything free.
Well, I don't think we have to completely displace them from technology.
Like, I know, but that's the other thing too. You don't want to, like, you want them to be able to understand technology.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is still, we're still dealing with it.
It's an ongoing struggle because
I have a friend who put her son in a 3-month, or maybe it was a 30-day, and I don't know what, but it was an addiction program. They like put their 11-year-old
specifically
son in
for
addiction.
screens.
No, I don't know if it was or not. I'm going to find out. I think, but it was specific, like away from the house for 30 days to detox from screens. And I don't know how it's going. It's been about 3 months now. I should reach out, but we wanted to send him. We were thinking maybe send him away to a sleepaway camp, but we're like,
all those little shits are going to have all their screens. They're going to have switches and
then
all
he's
kinds
going
of
to
other
like
stuff.
get into more stuff.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Alan says if we want him to teach him how to open up doors with butter knives, he can do it.
He already knows how to open all the other doors with butter knives, so we're all good.
Yeah. we have
3 kids.
We're up to here with him opening doors with butter knives.
But you know, it just the whole, you know, if we could explain, like, I'm sure this happens to other people. I'm sure that other people, and honestly, on my radical unschooling group, people know it. They see it because they say, you got to stop. You cannot self-regulate to something that does this to the human brain. You know, and the personality change around 5 or 6. When it all started, is severe. Totally different person. And as it continues up, it continues to get worse. It's just
so here's the other thing. So Shoe Funk threw a bunch of comments in about kind of like progression in video games and how video games have also changed. Right. And so that also has a big deal to do with it, because it used to be that you had to play the video game in such a way and do work and do like brain work in order to, right, like
explore.
But
like the old Zelda,
they figured out that the way to make the most money
is to have kids buy shit,
was to incentivize people just to buy the
which is insane.
The rewards, or buy,
and that's what he does. That's what he's
for.
Going doing the credit card for.
Yes.
Buy the shortcuts just to be the winner, right? But you didn't put any work in.
Well, and
didn't do anything.
Look at some of the stupid YouTubers he watches. They do an episode where it's like, I spent $50,000 in Robux and I was the best player in the game. So then these kids are like, oh man, if I just got $50,000 in Robux, right? It completely short circuits everything that you want to instill as good values within your kids, or like a good thought process or decision making process. And so you're up against it, right? I'm like,
you are. 100%.
I mean, there's definitely been time. I mean, like, I've definitely had some moments where, you know, TVs got thrown out in the backyard.
You have,
because it's
frustrating. You've also killed an iPad.
Infuriating. It is infuriating.
It's so hard, and honestly, in the end, like, we have to find a balance, because in the end, you're not going to be able to keep him from screens. He has to figure out how to self-regulate. Like, I don't know how to do it. That's the other thing. If you keep it from them completely, they're going to turn 18 and do whatever the fuck they want anyways. And so, what are they going to do then?
So something that minorly worked recently was he wanted some things from these microtransactions, right? So
I have to go.
You do have to go. So we got to end in 1 minute. But so maybe this will be like a to be continued.
We should get a psychologist on.
If you're a psychologist or know of one, we would love to talk to you.
I think I know someone I could get on.
But
I think I know people on both sides.
But he wanted some microtransactions. So it was, okay, do some work around the house. We negotiate a rate.
He does love to do work around the house. And being physical is like the opposite of doing what they do in the games. And
we negotiated a rate for the work. And then, okay, I can pay you in cash, or I'll allow up to half that you could pay towards these microtransactions or whatever. And so we negotiated a price, and he did the work, and then he got the microtransactions on the game.
What I want him to do, though.
So it was like semi-positive, but
no, but what I want him to do is have some kind of just love of something outside of that. Anything, something.
Yeah.
I have to run downstairs and teach a class.
Yep.
On creativity.
Yeah. And Shufeng made a great point too. A lot of the YouTubers, they deal with a different world, right? They're buying stuff and then they get the money back because YouTube pays them the royalties.
They're paying them the royalties for it. Exactly. Whereas so it doesn't matter to them.
Whereas these kids don't get it. They don't understand. They're like, oh, I'll just spend the money.
Who knows where their mom and dad are doing and what they're doing.
So
we should do more on this, because I think this is like epidemic.
Yeah.
And like not only like with kids, but with relationships, with where we're going with. It's just
if you are a parent or someone who's aware of this stuff, leave us either a comment or message us, and we'll.
And if you know anyone to get on, like let's do a forum. Let's get like other parents with kids with addictions, parents who are like radically unschooling and rocking it.
Yep.
Like, I'm sure I could find a few people.
Yeah.
Can you save a little of this wine, which was awesome?
Yeah, it was
I don't
fantastic.
know if you want to see it again. This has been my favorite yet.
Octopoda. And
there we go.
The bottle is like heavy. It's like serious. It's like bulky.
Save some for me so I can have a cigarette with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it
there. Speaking of addiction, which we were kicking momentarily. So that being said, that is the end of this episode of Ungovernable. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and let me pull this banner down. And peace. We'll see you next week, Monday, 9 p.m. Thanks, everyone.